Hey Jammers, what's up? So today I'm going to be teaching you about trading tips. A lot of it will cover basically on how to say no, when to say no, how to compromise when a jammer kind of doesn't want to trade, but they kind of do want to trade, but they just don't like your items, and the one item they do like happens to be an item you want to keep, or some other circumstance that just doesn't work out well for either side. One of the big things you gotta know is cooperation is key. It's kind of like how organization is key for all of your homework in school, all of your classes in school. Well, here, for trading bases, the ground foundation of trading is cooperation, and that rhymes, so it has to be true. No, I'm joking, it just rhymed at that point, and either way, even if it didn't rhyme, it's still true. Anyway, basically, on how to cooperate is step 1. You have to listen to both sides. So you have to make sure that they're listening to you on what you want and things like that of that nature. And then number 2, you also have to make sure they're listening to, or actually wrong, you have to be able to be or listening to them as well, which comes in cooperation. You both have to listen to each other basically. Step 2, aka step 3, but it's really step 2 on tips. It's tough, but you have to compromise. Basically, you just kind of, after you understand both sides, it's tough, but you make a deal. So what you do with this deal is you take the items that you have compromised with and trade. And that's pretty much it. And then you can say thank you and then go on about your daily life. Sometimes compromises aren't exactly fun for each side, and if it comes into that case where it's so unabsolutely fun for you that you can't handle it, then I would suggest you politely say no and then back off from the trade. Now on to the next section, saying no and when to say no. 2 good reasons for saying no is the fact that a part of cooperation, people have to understand saying no. Or also another thing, part of that is that people have to accept no. It's hard to accept no, especially when it's an item you want and you're playing the game and you're really rare and you're like, you feel like all of your hard works went to waste, even though you're still probably pretty rare, you just need that one item and then you don't get it. Well, you just gotta keep looking, and of course, there's also plenty of common worth sites out there that help you teach common worth, basically. Not help you teach, but it helps you learn about common worth of items on Animal Jam. A good one would just be called Common Worth or the AJ Item Wiki and things like that, and you can go on there, and that can probably help you with the evidence of when people say, oh, well, how do you know what it's worth? And that was just me, making an example of that. That's not how I actually talk to people. So, anyway, on to our next step. When to say no. Two good points on when to say no would be when the item doesn't match what you want. If it's something that they start talking about and they start describing and it sounds so cool, and then when you see you don't want it and you've already said, oh, I'll trade for that, well, you can politely say, oh, that's not the item I want, sorry, I didn't really understand what you were talking about, I didn't know what kind of item it was, and just leave, and then boom, you're done. If they get mad at you for it, then that's kind of against Animal Jam rules. You politely said no, and if they start being mean, you can't really call it bullying, but you can call it harassment or light bullying, whatever you want to call it. It's not really bullying because they're not prolonging it, they're not doing it for a long time, and they're not continuously doing it. And if they are, then you just kind of need to report them at that point. But for this, you can just ignore them and not buddy them, and then just go about your daily Animal Jam life. If someone's bothering you, Animal Jam Rules has taught you to ignore them. Just an example of this, I'll just show you in case you don't really know. Boom! Click this button, block them, ignore them. Done. If they're your buddy, a close friend, and you get into an argument over it, you don't have to ignore them, you don't have to unbuddy them, but if they unbuddy you, then that means that rares and items mean more to them than your friendship. And that sucks to hear, and it's sad to hear, but that's just kind of how it works. It's the hard truth of Animal Jam. So, the next good point is when the item isn't worth it. If there's an item you really want, and all the items you have are really rare, and they want really rare items for it, then you have to tell them no, because you know that the item isn't worth it. I would back it up with evidence from a wiki. If they're younger, then you have to understand that they can't look up a wiki, so then that's when you kind of figure that out, is they're like, oh, I don't know what that is, or something like that, then you just kind of walk away, because they'll get over it because they're younger, and it's just a game to them still. Some people think this is their life. At least that's what I hear. A lot of people say, Animal Jam is my life. It's all I have. And for some people, it may be all that you have as a social way of cooperating with people and building socialization skills. But I feel bad for you if it is, not because it's your fault. It may not even be your fault that that's your life. It may just be that you don't have a lot to do or something, which is fine. I mean, Animal Jam is a better way to be spending your time rather than what other people do in this world. So, anyway, on to the next place, section, whatever you want to call it. I was gonna say place. Avoiding traders who are scammers. So I don't really call, like, you know, when you have that person who's like, oh, give away my identity, that's kind of like a trading method, except you're giving it away, and you can do it, like, if you're with a non-member and you're giving away an item and they win, then you trade it for a necklace, and it's all still basically trading and stuff. So, giveaways are nice and all until that one person out there who's acting as a trader is like, oh, give away my den, and then they're a scammer. You can still classify them as a trader, they're just not trading properly. So obviously the first 2 points, ignore them, block them. If you fall into a trap and you didn't know about it, then AJHQ can recover your items for you. You just gotta have your parent or someone you know contact them that's older, and if you're older, then you can contact them yourself. Obviously at their email or their... I wouldn't do their phone number. I'd probably do their email. For that kind of thing anyway, at least. Next point, if you already know about it and you get scammed, then that's kind of your fault at that point. You really can't go crying, like, off and not knowing. Now, if it was a close friend of yours and they did it and you knew them in real life, you're probably going to want to have to sit down and talk to them, maybe about how they did that to you on a game because you know them, and at that point, they're probably going to get in trouble for it because that's considered, in a way, cyberbullying. Because they're ruining the game's fun for everyone. If you do know them, like on Animal Jam, but you don't know them in life, then that's... you really can't get them for anything besides reporting them. And then if you knew them and they did that to you, then I'm sorry, but there's really nothing you can do besides report them. But I wouldn't go trying to get my items back by going to Chemon Township and being like, oh, I got scammed and things like that. And then another thing that people like to do is say, oh, it's my birthday and things like that, and that's another thing you shouldn't do. Consider this a guide. Don't go out to Chemon Township expecting people to give you items. Everyone does it. There's tons of rare people there, so they expect it, and then it just doesn't happen because people already know that, number one, you can't trust anyone online. Number two, it's a game. You really shouldn't be that concerned about items. Of course, people are, but I don't know why. I mean, look at my inventory. All of my items go to giveaways that are hosted by me. And by the way, I'm sorry for not hosting that giveaway. That's when everything started coming up, and I was like, you know what, I can't do it, so I'm going to do it, but it's just not gonna be, like, tomorrow or anything like that. It's gonna be whenever I can. As you can see, I still have the item. It's not like I'm keeping it away from you. But as you can see, I have a couple things worth maybe dim betas or 2. And then the rest is like store items, rim items. A rim I forgot to do. Sorry, I was busy during that time too. But I will reassure you in the fact that I made an animal for it. Oh, see? This is a good place to look. Rules. Problems with another player, etc. trading? Yes. And that's where you can go to look. Anyway, I'm going to show you this real fast. I know you saw all of those, but I'm not going to tell you what they are yet. So you can just assume what they are in the comments, even though they're all wearing snowflake beanies. Anyway, I'll probably be in this and show you guys how lovely it is. This is the rim animal that I missed this week. But oh well. Ooh. Ooh, I already did that though. Ooh, isn't it so cute? Anyway, here is our last tip for trading. Understanding and accepting no. This is tough. One of the toughest parts. Number 1, you have to understand when they tell you no. Other people have to be able to understand when you tell them no. It's a part of cooperation. Then you also have to be able to accept it. So, that's basically it. There's nothing to it, there's nothing I can say, there's nothing to help you cope with it, you just have to understand and accept. And that's basically all of the tips I have for you. I know there's probably more out there, but these are the basic tips. If you would like a Trading Tips 2.0 that goes into further depth, then I could probably provide that if I sit down and think about it for a while. Because I thought about this one for a while. Thought about the basic ones that would help a lot of you, basically give you guys a refresher on it. If you liked it, you can like it. If you just come across it and you don't even know me, then I guess if you like them, then you can subscribe, or you can just like them. You can also leave comments on tips I may have missed out that were basic. And here's the biggest tip of all you should remember. Don't scam. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed watching and have a fun day, Jammer.